Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. It is Tuesday, January 6th, 7 p.m. on the East Coast. If you are on the East Coast in the US, many people watching from New Zealand and Australia, in which case it's Wednesday, January 7th, sometime. And anyway, if you're here and watching, please say hi. Let us know you're here, where you're from. And as always, we'll give it a couple minutes to get through. No, that's not right. To let people get in and settled. Excuse me. And we'll get started momentarily. Hi, Katie, my beautiful wife. Katie is here. Stick with the ick. The ultimate in all pink. Cash, I see, is here or was here. Looks like he'll be back in 10, but he's listening. Hey, Beth Carducci, Happy New Year. Hi, Phyllis. Good to see you. And Peakman. I don't know that I've seen you before. Welcome, welcome. Those kangaroos? No, those are Pikachus. Just kidding. Yeah, I'm not even going to try and justify that. Happy New Year, Rash. Good to see you. If you're all just getting in and settled, feel free to say hi. Let us know you're here and where you're from. And yeah, we'll get started in just about 30 seconds. Pikachu, kangaroo, it's all the same. Fair. Although I'm pretty sure a kangaroo card isn't worth quite as much, but they're both adorable. Happy New Year to you all as well. I hope your New Year is off to a good, wonderful, healthy, happy start. Hi, Robert Spence in the house. Emil, I see a lot of new faces, or at least faces that don't comment too regularly. So welcome, welcome. This is fantastic. Hi, Ethan from Long Island. I don't know why it's not coming. There we go. Oh, Beth, I will tell you in one moment. Let's get some housekeeping out of the way, and then we'll jump in to conversation. And as always, if you're just joining, as you come in, please don't hesitate to say hi and let us know where you're from. Any questions, feel free to load them up in the chat, or any topics you want to talk about. Yeah, we'll get started momentarily. So as always, this is Community Conversations. My name is Ethan. This live stream is educational and is not intended to replace therapy. For treatment-related questions, please work with your local provider or contact a local clinician. You can use the IOCDF's online resource directory at iocdf.org/find-help to locate a trained clinician near you. As always, the IOCDF is not a crisis hotline. If you are in crisis, feeling suicidal or unsafe, there we go. Please call the Suicide and Crisis Hotline at 988, or go to your local emergency room or call 911. As always, we want to create a safe space and be kind and respectful to everyone. So at the end of the day, we're all here to support one another. So to note, this is being broadcast on several social media platforms and is being recorded. So keep that in mind as we talk about our deepest, darkest, and sensitive thoughts. With all of that being said, all right, from Israel, I like it. Where in Israel are you from? I don't know that we've had someone from Israel, or at least that have commented, but that's awesome. I love that. Hi, Jennifer. I would never. Deirdre in the house. Good to see you all. All right. So as we're loading up, ramping up, first of all, Happy New Year. Oh, your favorite month is January. Time for cold reading, drinking hot drinks. I love a good puttering around the house. I'm not going to lie. I'm a big fan of puttering for sure. I love that January is your favorite month. Well, welcome to your favorite month. You made it. Hi, Amy. It's good to see you. All right. So first of all, I hope everyone had a good holiday season that observed or celebrated, whether that was Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year's, and all of the above. Hope everyone is feeling at least somewhat rested and content. I know that the holidays can be really challenging, as we talked about and had many live streams about. So understood, and it can be really stressful, and sometimes the opposite of all the things that you hope it would be. And you know what? If it was that for you, that's okay too. Um, we're just here to meet you where you are, how you're feeling. Um, I know that when I try to unstress, I become stressed about not stressing. And of course, as things quiet down from work, and your mind has time to sort of wander and think about things. New thoughts, anxious thoughts, thoughts that you haven't had in a while tend to creep up. So yeah, so it can be challenging, but I hope at the end of the day we're excited for a new year, whatever that means. I saw a question. Amy, do you still have health OCD? So it's a great question. Yes, I do still have health anxiety that is related to my OCD. I think it's important to explain that, I definitely have thoughts, and thoughts can be louder or softer, just depending on what's going on. It's at least in Georgia, really, really bad flu. So, my my anxiety is a little bit higher, worrying, am I going to get sick? Am I going to get this? Am I going to get that? But with that being said, I don't necessarily change my behavior. Katie had a really big event at her church on Sunday. I went, didn't wear a mask, for better or worse, and had a great time with her, ate out, did all the things. So I think it's important to say, yes, the anxiety is there and the thoughts are there, sometimes stronger than others. But for the most part, at least I hope that my actions remain the same and value driven, and that it doesn't particularly interfere too much with my functioning. And that is ultimately the goal. I'm not interested in trying to quiet the thoughts. I mean, they're annoying. But if I can continue to move forward in a value driven way, and have it not interfere with my daily life, then that's a huge win. And if the thoughts quiet down, that's a bonus as well. So it's present, it's there, and sometimes I notice it more than others. For those of you that tuned in around Thanksgiving, I cracked my chest, or I had a fractured rib, and so of course that spiked my health anxiety as well. But we're continuing forward, continuing on, and doing okay. And ultimately, that's what we do around the thoughts is, and how we move forward is most important. Absolutely. Happy New Year. Oh, sorry, Tel Aviv. Okay, amazing. No, why do you like some? I love Israel. I have family in Israel, and we've had a lot of individuals from the Middle East, but I don't know that anyone from Israel specifically, at least, that has commented. So I was just excited to see. Let's see. I see a Dottie. Hey, Dottie, it's good to see you. What other questions do we have? What's on your mind? How are you doing? How are you feeling? How was your holiday? How is your new year? How are you feeling about the new year? Anything on your mind? I definitely have thoughts and can at least initiate a conversation around this. I have lots of thoughts actually going into a new year, but wanted to give you all a chance, of course, to weigh in. I love that thought, Ethan. I just sent my kiddos back to school today with several news articles staring me in the face about the high flu levels here. It's tempting to tell them to wash hands. Absolutely. And, and that's awesome. I think that we have to take it all with a grain of salt. I think how we handle like COVID, right? There's things that are valid and important. Obviously with OCD, we don't want to engage in irrational compulsions. And during COVID, if you were barely washing your hands because you were a hand washer and people were telling you to make sure you wash your hands, all the time, 20 seconds, kind of want to base it in and what's realistic. So, I love that you didn't seek reassurance by telling your kids to do that. Simultaneously, if people are saying be a little bit more vigilant about washing your hands because it's a way to prevent the flu, I think that's okay to say. At the end of the day, you're still living with uncertainty. You have no idea whether your kids are going to wash their hands at school or not, right? So you're not getting certainty around that. But simply saying, hey, flu season is intense. And I love you for that. I think that's exactly what you should do, is not put your OCD on them. And simultaneously, it doesn't have to be black or white, right? We can live in a gray, and sometimes that's scary to navigate that gray area, feeling like it may bring you closer to pulling you back in. But I think that there is there's a reality to this, right? And so it's okay to say, hey guys, a lot of people are getting sick. It's okay to wash your hands an extra time before you eat, or when you come in, or even when when you get home and you've been at school all day, just wash your hands. Keep healthy, keep the house healthy and happy. Say it one time. If that's important and feels value driven to you, it doesn't need to be an all or nothing where it's like, wow, I have health anxiety. I can't. I shouldn't be saying this. Absolutely agree. You shouldn't put OCD on your kids, but also, we're maneuvering in a constantly changing environment, and it's organic. And so, it's okay to feel it out and navigate as you go. So at least that's my opinion for what it's worth. Emil, Ethan, how is thought attention versus thought suppression differ when OCD thoughts are sticky? I feel that when I turn to values, when thoughts are allowed, feels irresponsible. Great question. I'm just going to take a quick drink of water. So it's very common to feel irresponsible when we're not paying attention to our thoughts, our OCD thoughts. Depending on the content, it can feel more or less irresponsible. If your content is specifically around, morality or religious scrupulosity, other people's health and well-being, things like that, right? It can feel really irresponsible to, say to yourself, I'm not going to pay attention to that. I'm going to do that thing that's important to me. The feeling of irresponsibility is an illusion, because we are putting weight behind our OCD thoughts, when in reality they're ego dystonic, meaning they're not our actual values, they're not what we value, and we have no desire to move in that direction, whatever those thoughts are. And we actually want to move in a different direction. We don't hold those things close. Also, knowing OCD attacks the things we care about most. Hence the reason it can feel so irresponsible to ignore them. It's interesting that you say thought attention versus thought suppression. We never want to suppress our thoughts. And thought attention, I would change to thought acknowledgement. I don't know if that's a thing. Somebody write it down. Maybe I just coined a new phrase. But thought acknowledgement for me is something that I do, right? That is recognizing that you're having the thought without getting into the weeds with it. So we don't want to suppress. We don't want to try to thought stop, and we're not having thought, right? We want to acknowledge that it's there. Okay, hi thought, thank you for being there. We're not going to try to push you away, but we're also not going to invite you in to hang out and play video games. What we're going to do is let you be there, hence the acknowledgement piece, and then gently turn our attention to something else, ideally that's value driven. Recognizing that thought is OCD will not probably alleviate the feeling that is irresponsibility, or the emotion that feels icky, or the reason you would do a compulsion to relieve the anxiety. But identifying it as OCD, or most likely OCD, and then acknowledging it and then moving forward, at least tells you in some way, and tells your brain that you're not responsible for it. It isn't irresponsible because there's no responsibility to be had. It's playing on a fear. You can't have certainty. You can only do the best you can. And OCD is going to convince you that you are responsible for certain things. Even for yourself, health anxiety. If I have a little headache and my brain starts screaming, it's a tumor, it's an aneurysm, it's the beginnings of a stroke, right? Am I being irresponsible and not paying attention to it? And am I putting myself at risk? Maybe. I can't be certain that it's not. But what I do know is that OCD typically will take my life from me long before any of those other things will. It has before. And when you've had OCD really derail your life, it's a risk I'm willing to take, because I know that the odds of it being one of those things are slim. And the odds of my OCD really taking over my life are much higher. Simultaneously, I also know that it could be any one of those things. And if they are, I'll deal with it and take my chances, and hopefully everything will be okay. Um, but I know that if I give into it and compulse around it, then my world will become small very, very quickly. That isn't to say that I don't compulse. That isn't to say that I don't ruminate or get stuck on things. But that is to say that even when it feels really irresponsible, it's so important to recognize it's OCD, be willing to sit with the discomfort of the feeling, and be able to acknowledge the thought without giving it attention. Um, meaning think about it, process it, figure it out. Um, so so that's at least how I see it. And yeah, a lot of times, but the more we do that, the more we engage in our values, let our thoughts be there, but not necessarily respond to them in a way that OCD wants to, that irresponsibility is going to slowly go away as well. Along with the anxious feelings, the icky feelings, and the intense intrusive thoughts as well. What was I going to say? Yeah, I agree with you. OCD worse than cancer. It's a tough one for sure. Um, and seconded by Phyllis. Yeah. Ethan, do you work since your Dexter appearance, and did you enjoy New Year and such, like hearing your real tales? Oh, and how is Katie? Yeah, Katie's always an afterthought for me too. And do I work? I do work. I don't work as an actor anymore, but I do lots of work for sure. And yeah, the New Year's was good. We can talk about it. Um, and I hope you're well. I love this. This is such a powerful statement about uncertainty. For those of you, this was last year for Cash, our dear friend Cash, had a seizure in April and won 350,000 pounds in a lottery in June. If that isn't the definition of embracing uncertainty, I don't know what is. Uncertainty can be really scary, April, and can be really amazing, June. And I don't know that Cash had a whole lot of control over either of those things. But we hope for more lottery wins than seizures, and that's why ultimately we continue to move forward in value-driven ways. So I love that. I love that you said that, Cash. Thank you for that. What other questions we got? It's been a minute since we've done a proper Q&A, so I'm thoroughly enjoying it. While you load up the comments with questions, I was going to say, I'll tell you something that I'm struggling with. As you know, I like to keep it real here, and share with you, the successes and challenges. I'm really struggling with self-compassion for myself. I will always preach about it and talk about it and tell you how important it is in navigating OCD and related disorders and life and everything else. But I have not been that compassionate with myself the last few months. And I was meeting with my therapist today, talking about self-compassion and me struggling with giving myself self-compassion. And I'm curious if you all have similarly. Specifically, I had a lot of goals around physical self-improvement, getting healthier, making lifestyle changes and things like that, starting, I guess, summer of last year. And I didn't hit mostly any of the goals that I wanted to hit. Some were for very valid reasons that were out of my control completely. And other ones were, me. And then some variation of all of them in between. However, it's very hard with this black and white OCD brain of ours to give ourselves wins where there were wins and simply see it as an all or nothing failure. You either do exactly what you wanted to do and woohoo, pat on the back, or you didn't achieve it and you failed, as opposed to looking at some of the good things that you did and maybe some of the not so good things and learning. So I thought it was interesting. I was telling my therapist how I was doing and feeling, and she was like, yeah, are you practicing self-compassion at all? And she's like, no. I was like, yeah, apparently not. But But anyway, that's what I'm struggling with, especially going into a new year where I really want everybody's like, I'm going to do it this year. I was like, I tried for the 15th time. I tried, and meh. So we'll keep at it. But I thought I'd share it if anybody could relate. But if you have thoughts on that, great. If not, just keep asking your questions. My OCD has been popping up in tricky ways, not my usual theme. Several times through the holidays, I spent so much time in compulsions, not even realizing until after the fact. Tricky. It is, Jennifer. It's really tricky. I had a new. What is this? I became like a Bond villain. I was driving yesterday, heading to the grocery store, and the sun was in my face. And when it cleared my face, there was a man walking in the neighborhood, and I had turned wide, and I didn't almost hit him, but I was going a little fast, and I was like, oh shit. He gave me a dirty look, and I kind of did the apology thing, and then as I was driving away, I started thinking, well, did I hit him? I don't have hit and run. That isn't my thing. But I started like worrying, did I hit him? And I was like, wait, if I hit him, I would have known I hit him. And I was just like, I'm putting this to bed. So I relate to sudden new themes. I did have okay. So this happens so much. I'm speaking to the compulsions, not even realizing it till after the fact, especially with new themes. New themes are very good at pushing us back on the roller coaster, as I like to say. So because they take us by surprise, they're not something we're familiar with or used to. And because of that fact, it takes on this, well, this must be something I must listen to, or I should listen to, or it must be true. And that's a very convincing argument to someone with OCD. Oh, it's not my usual thing. I haven't processed it before. This is something I haven't thought of. So it must be a gut feeling, and on and on and on and on. Right. So new themes can be really alarming and scary, and like get us back on that compulsion roller coaster really fast, to the point, as you said, where you don't even realize that you're compulsing. You know, and so my suggestion to that is, and this is true with anybody. A lot of times the compulsions feel like they're automatic. They don't feel like a choice. They feel like they just happen. And when you tell me like don't compulse, well, how do I not compulse if I don't even know I'm doing it? I've talked about this before. This isn't new, but what I will say is, the goal for these things ultimately is try to come back to the present moment. So, if you don't notice when you start compulsing, at some point you do realize you're engaging in something that seems like a compulsion. And when you do, your job is to come back to present. And when you come back to present, look around you, ground yourself in whatever ways you know how, and try to move it forward without compulsing. Again, if you're stuck in a loop, then your goal becomes, how many times can I become present again? How many times can I be here in the present moment? And even if you can't stay there for very long, that's not the win. The win is the trying to keep coming back to the present moment. And especially with a new theme or a new thought or whatever it is. And the more you do that, the more you try to recognize that it is OCD, and it's an OCD thought, and it's scary, but that your treatment and the skills and tools that you've learned apply to all themes and all subtypes and all symptoms, and not just one. Should bring you a little bit of comfort in knowing that you have the skills and tools to handle it, in which case, and then put those things into action. So I saw Herbert, OCD caused me to walk away from my faith in God, but I've started practicing my faith again by his grace. I'm really happy to hear that. I think I saw, religious scrupulosity is hell. I know it is. Religious scrupulosity is really challenging. I don't know if you're familiar with the community Stick with the Ick. I'll put it in the comments. It is a really amazing virtual community for individuals navigating faith and OCD. They have an app, website, all the above. If you're struggling with scrupulosity, which is religious OCD, or moral scrupulosity, or OCD in general, check it out. It's pretty special. And check it out, Herbert. And And if you have any questions, you can email Katie, who I think is on here. She is my wife. She also runs Stick with the Ick. A lot of people, yep, Cash, aka Pink. People know her, people love her. She's much better than I am. So give her a tap on the shoulder, and happy to support it any way that we can. Where am I? Yes, my therapist was unknowingly, and that's the thing, right? A lot of these therapists don't really know how to treat OCD. They think they do, and in doing so, make the OCD considerably worse. And so, it's really important to find a therapist that is well versed in exposure and response prevention, at least to start out. Oh, there's Katie. She's in the house. There we go. See, because at the conference, if you go to the conference, I'm Katie's husband. That is my new name. So I kind of dig wife. I don't know. Maybe we think about that for the future. Herbert, you're okay, man. You're good. You're good. Beth Carducci, I'll say what's scary for me. One of the members of my crab group is living in my greatest OCD. She has COVID, and now she has long COVID and POTS. She had COVID, and now she has long COVID and POTS. I'm sorry to hear that. And Katie wrote, would love to have anyone navigating frequency as part of Stick with the Ick. We have events, chats, and community support groups on Scroop almost every day. That is true. What am I? She's lying. There's just one a year. Cool. So yeah, for those of you check it out. What else? What else is on your mind? Those of you that may be watching but not chatting, if you've been watching for a while and haven't said hi, maybe this is your year. No pressure, but would love to meet new people. If not, you can always keep me on the background and either help you finish homework or work or sleep or whatever it is that the docile tones of Ethan, the docile tones of Ethan help you do. But any questions, comments, concerns, OCD or otherwise, we're here to talk. Yeah, there is hope, Herbert. 1000%. There is hope. And I guarantee you, so many here, if not most of us, were suffering in silence for long, and then suffering in loudness, and everything in between, until we all found our sort of our path. And so, I don't know if this is your first time, but welcome. You're among friends here. As you can see, everybody is talking in the chat and supporting. And I know you're definitely not alone, and I'm glad you're here. Where are you from, Herbert? Here we go. Phyllis in the house. Almost won that trivia on Stick with the It game night. Phyllis, it will be your night. It's coming up. It is coming up. Your win is at hand. So I want to hear about, if nobody has questions, and you can toss them in at any times. What is everyone's hope for the new year? Oh, North Carolina. Okay, not too far. We're in Georgia. What's everyone's hope for the new year around their OCD or mental health? Katie and I talk about compassionate commitments, meaning, not necessarily resolutions, but things we want to commit to compassionately, meaning, if they happen, that's amazing. And that's the goal. But if they don't, we can be compassionate with ourselves. The thing that I am not doing with myself lately. Okay, Katie, that's enough. No, I'm just kidding. They do have a free game night every month. You can win prizes. I'll videotape a 30-second message, like a cameo, but with me. And I'll say hi to your friends, your sisters, your brothers, your family. You never know. And it's free. You just have to win. Eric Broach. Yeah, Eric in Houston. Not sure if he's around, but he's something at trivia. That guy, when we hosted trivia with the IOCDF monthly, he won everything. Didn't matter what it was. It was unbelievable. It's okay to hope. I don't think we'll get it, but nothing wrong with trying to find absolute certainty. I'm sorry to hear that about your brother, Beth. All right, Emily, finally making travel plans again in the new year, which I haven't done so much at all pre-COVID due to OCD stuff. I totally get that. And I know that's the case for so many. So I'm so excited to hear that. And again, like Katie and I are going to fly next week. We're going to wear masks. Um, in fact, flying is pretty much the place I've consistently continued to wear a mask, and not because of COVID. When I used to fly, when I flew a lot pre-COVID, one out of every 6 flights, I got a cold. And then, I actually ended up flying a fair amount during COVID for work and never got sick. And I was like, well, this is nice. So just decided to wear a mask from now on because, knock wood, I don't get sick flying as much, I should say. The one time I didn't wear a mask in May to LA, I got sick. So that was fun. But anyway, so, again, make decisions that are right for you. I think that is A-okay. There you go. I'm 100% certain I won't find certainty this year. That is absolutely true. Oh, about your brother. You had just talked about your brother not wearing a mask. Oh, sorry, I misread it. He said he would wear a mask if he wanted to go out again. He would wear a mask in the car for me. Oh, that's awesome. Listen, at this point, Beth, get out. I'd be so excited for you to get out with your brother. And if he's wearing a mask and you're wearing a mask, that is such a huge win. So go do it. And then tell me what you did. Aw, I love that, Deirdre. So sweet. Emily wrote, I agree. I plan to wear one. I have anxiety around getting sick and sensitivities to fragrances, etc. So I agree. Yeah, I don't, and I mean, you remember, I think it's okay for people not to want to get sick. I definitely think I'm way more sensitive than a lot. It's funny when you hang around people that just don't care if they get sick. Somebody will be extremely ill and they'll be all up in their face talking and hanging out. I'm like, are you crazy? And I'll be like, are you afraid you're gonna, I don't care, whatever. I know for me, having nothing to do with health anxiety, when I get sick, colds, they go into my chest and I get really sick. So I'm not interested in getting sick. Am I afraid I'm going to die? Do I have irrational fears around it? Not much anymore. I really don't. I just don't want to deal with, 3 weeks of just misery if I can avoid it. I had bronchitis twice last year. So, like I said, I went to church with 200 people last week or on Sunday. Didn't wear a mask. Just cautious, wash my hands, whatever. But if I fly or I'm going to be in a situation where I'm going to be facing a lot of people in their face and it's flu season, maybe I will. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's value driven for me and it's not rooted in a fear of avoidance, right? And that's really what we have to ask ourselves. So everybody kind of knows, or ideally knows, what's right for them. And that's kind of where we want to let us guide. Robert said, for next year, I hope I build on my recovery gains that I made last year. I had a rough time with some of my ERP, but was at the point where I know ERP is going concerned. Learn to be angry at OCD and not at myself. I love that. That's a huge, 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 huge thing. You're allowed to be angry at your OCD. You're allowed to be angry at the things that it took away from you, and you're allowed to grieve those things. I am also learning about that, grieving the things that I've lost, grieving the life that I thought I should have had, right? Grieving the things like, you play these fantasies out of like, well, if I didn't have OCD, if that thing hadn't happened, if I was able to make that other decision because OCD wasn't dictating how I should move forward in my life, what would my life be like? And it's in no way saying I'm miserable in my life now. I wish I wasn't living this life. It's simply allowing yourself to grieve the pieces of your life that you did lose, and it's fascinating because do you have certainty that your life would have ended up in some way, that you envision? No, you don't, in my mind, had I stayed at college and, not dropped out because of OCD, all these things would have happened. I have no clue if those things would have happened, but in my mind, they would have happened. But I think grieving the losses that OCD creates is necessary to move forward. And I've just started that process about, 8 or 9 months ago with trauma therapy. And it's been really hard. But it's helping me understand a lot about myself and and starting to actually deal with emotions that I hadn't really dealt with before. So yeah, I totally agree. Anyway, sorry to digress, but learning to be angry, I really love that. What was I going to say? Absolutely great. Also building on recovery gains and continuing that ERP 1000%. Deirdre, and that's huge. That's amazing. I am so proud of you. I'm going to mute myself for 1 second. That's awesome. I'm waiting for Beth for that, but that's absolutely huge, and I could not be more proud of you, Deirdre. Good for you. That's rad. Sorry. I'd like to go to the cemetery to visit my family and dog for starters. I did for a while in 2024, but stopped. I think it's a great thing to do again, Beth. 1000%. For this exact reason. Phyllis, always bringing the truth. I love it. Absolutely, Cash. Maybe you brought on your lottery win yourself because your screen name is Cash. We should all change our screen names to Cat. And don't do that, actually, because I won't be able to tell anyone apart. But regardless, just tossing it out there. Do a vision board. Oh, and finding a therapist, let us know how we can support. The IOCDF has resources. I know the UK can be tricky, but I know a lot of people out there and a lot of nonprofits, and maybe we can find someone. So let us know how we can support you, Cash. Excuse me. Sorry, I was just reading the comments and I have something stuck in my throat, so I apologize. What else? What else are your plans or goals for your mental health this year? For your OCD related disorders? Love Lana. Hey, you. Good to see you. No, I have water. Thank you, Katie. And Deirdre, yeah, you can always, and I'm sure I know all of you that at least come regularly know this, but I'll always put the website on here, which is the IOCDF resource directory. You can just put in your zip code, even your country, if you're not in the US, and see if anyone comes to mind that resonates with you. Just because these therapists are on the IOCDF resource directory does not mean they're endorsed by the IOCDF. These are individuals that have gone through some basic screening to make sure that they do exposure and response prevention. But please do your own digging and investigation to make sure that they are someone that's right for you. Look for education, how long they've been doing ERP, who trained them. There's a great article on the IOCDF finding. I really should have all of these bookmarked or somewhere so I can just pull it up as opposed to Googling it every single time. Here we go. Stacy Rosenthal Young. Hey, you. Good to see you. Here we go. Here's that article, which I've given out a few times as well. And that's great. I love that you're talking to somebody and acknowledging that they may not have enough experience to treat OCD. Good job. Olivia, thank you so much for commenting. In the UK, I'm interested in therapists. You might, real quick. Let me, if you don't mind, a little bit of silence, which Katie would dream about. Let's see here. So for those of you, I know Fran, right? He just start hitting the links. OCD Action is a great nonprofit in the UK. They know a lot of clinicians, support groups. They're really good people. I also think, let me see if I can remember, OCD. Yeah, there's also OCD UK. I know I have less experience working with OCD UK, but they are a reputable nonprofit. There's their link. Um, and then I think, so Catherine, why am I blanking on my friend's last name? That is super weird. Um, Yeah, I'll think of it at some point. Oh, Catherine Benfield is a dear friend, runs the website Taming Olivia. Um, it's somewhat geared toward kids, but she's an incredible advocate in the UK, and just an awesome human all around. Really well connected in the UK as well. Lived experience with OCD, and just one of my favorite people. So check out her website. It's actually super cool. I'm pretty sure you can reach her through her website. Yeah, she has her email there, and she'd also be a really good resource as well. So I would start with those three. Of course, you can also reach out, email the IOCDF, call the IOCDF, and they would be happy. Yeah, absolutely, Olivia. I'm so glad you're here too. Um, we have a bunch of folks in the UK. Um, so they'll be happy to help connect as well. But those are three great places to start, at least. Um, let's see here. Hi, Clay. Great to see you. Hi, Ethan. What's up? Really struggling with not giving into compulsions, but my OCD fears actually coming true. Do you have any tips for overcoming this? I do. You're not alone. That is the big fear, right? If I don't compulse, if I don't pay attention, I mean, if I don't pay attention, then these horrible things that I'm thinking about that are really scary are going to happen, right? And doing the compulsions relieve the anxiety. For a short time, they do work, which is why we continue to do them. But unfortunately, they stop working, and it becomes the vicious cycle. First and foremost, Clay, I would encourage you to try to, if you're not working with a therapist or a treatment provider, to reach out to someone in your area who is licensed, and start working with the treatment provider, focusing on exposure and response prevention, which is the gold standard of treatment for OCD. If you scroll in the comment thread, I've put a link to the resource directory and a lot of different resources, actually, for finding treatment providers. And that would be the most important step. OCD is treatable. There are really effective treatments for OCD, exposure response prevention, again, being the gold standard and the first line treatment. Um, and that exposure response prevention is all about exposing yourself to your OCD thoughts and fears, and then resisting compulsions, sitting with the anxiety, and learning to understand what that feels like, what that means, how OCD works, and learning to live a value-driven life instead of living a life for OCD in that constant, repetitive hellscape, which I definitely relate to, and I know so many do here. If you have a specific question, I'm more than happy to answer your question. But that's a really big question, and I think the first part is definitely. But also, if you haven't been to the IOCDF website, there's so many good resources on the website. So much information on OCD, subtypes, symptoms, how to respond, how to react, what treatment is, how it works, what it does. It's a great place to start. Deirdre, yeah, there should be links in Twitch. Maybe it doesn't link in Twitch, but I think you're on Facebook right now, so they should definitely be on Facebook. Oh, thank you so much, Gordon. I appreciate that. ERP is tough. Wait, Gary Oldman's here? Oh, no, never mind. Sorry. Oh, whoops. Never publish a cache comment without reading it first. Very dangerous. Lots of uncertainty in his comments. I appreciate that, Gordon. ERP is tough, and I actually would argue that ERP gets a really bad rap. it's not fun to have to face your fears. It's not fun to, um, it's not fun to engage in behaviors that feel really scary and dangerous. Um, with that being said, though, we have to trust that our treatment providers, the right treatment providers, have our best interests in mind. They're not trying to hurt us; they're trying to help us. And if we think about any treatment or therapy around any really tough medical condition or disease, um, none are easy. Chemotherapy is horrific. Um, I mean, rounds of chemotherapy and radiation, all that comes with it. It's not easy. I think we need to view, ERP like chemotherapy. Um, and everybody responds differently to those things, but I think it's so important to recognize that it can be exactly, Rob. It can be so effective and so helpful and teaches you skills that supersede OCD, that are really just really great life skills to have around living with uncertainty and scary thoughts and all of those things. Um, and so, yeah, exposure response prevention, along with, for me, I mean, it wasn't the end all be all for me. Acceptance commitment therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, were really big game changers for me. And so, it's so important to look at the long-term gain of what it means to really engage in the exposure and response prevention. Really turn yourself over to it. Be willing to, be scared in an effort to save your life. Because, OCD is a mental health disorder. And, for me and for many others, it is life or death. And so, I think when we're presented with a brain tumor, we will do anything it takes to save our life. And OCD is malignant in many, many cases, and not all cases, meaning though that the less you treat it, the worse it gets over time. And so, I think it's so important to recognize that, the quicker you treat it, the more aggressively you treat it, the more you surrender to the process, the quicker you'll get your life back and the less life you'll lose. Um, I can't go back and regain my toddler years or my teens or even my 20s or even early 30s. But you bet your ass, if I could go back and tell 8-year-old Ethan to do ERP, I absolutely would. And so, yeah, sorry, Gordon, I went off on a tangent, but it's great. It's a great comment and it's true. I saw somebody else write a comment. Phyllis said, I'm writing ERP hierarchy for myself to work on decision making without OCD interfering. My ultimate goal will be writing without OCD. That's amazing. And this, first of all, huge congrats, Phyllis. That's incredible. And I hope this is really inspiring to a lot of people. This is also something that's kind of amazing. I mean, I don't wish OCD on anyone. Phyllis talked about it. It's worse than cancer. One of the things I think I feel very fortunate about around OCD is that I have the power to treat it myself after you're given the skills and tools, right? So I got to go to therapy. Maybe I need to get on medication, and that's a process, right? And it's a chronic disorder, meaning as of right now, there's no cure that we know of. But if I have a flare up, I have the power to do something about it. I have choices I can make. I have skills and tools I can lean on. If your cancer comes back, you have to take action, right? You have to do another set of things versus, wow, I don't have to go anywhere. I really just have to commit to being uncomfortable and using the skills and tools that I've learned. And in some cases, I feel very blessed that that's what I have to do to fight my OCD. It's a nasty, nasty mental health disorder. And simultaneously, it's an extremely treatable mental health disorder. I'm not saying it's easy to treat in some people. Sure as hell wasn't easy for me. But I always think about the fact that, like, once you have those skills and tools, the fact that I can be anywhere doing anything. And if OCD gets really nasty, that I have everything I need right here to do what's necessary. I just have to put it into action and do it. I say that because, I mean, this is a perfect example of doing that. This is something that Phyllis clearly wants to be able to do without it impacting her life. And so she's setting out to do it using the things that she's learned. And I think that is awesome. Hi, Luana. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm as I think actually Deirdre answered your question, but we don't give any type of medical advice here. I'm not a psychiatrist, so you'll have to consult a physician for that answer. But I appreciate you being here. Here it is. Rob wrote, if ERP was fun, everyone would do it. I know. Listen, if we could go hang out in Fiji and drink pina coladas on the beach, and that will take care of our OCD, count me in. However, what I will say is, if you engage in your ERP and do the work, you can then go to Fiji and drink pina coladas on the beach. And enjoy it. Very exciting. Gordon wrote, well, actually, we got some support for Phyllis. Yes, that is exciting. Making decisions and choosing words that you want, not based on OCD, is so freeing. And actions, making actions and value-driven decisions, choosing life and things that you want to do versus what your OCD wants you to do or not do. It's freeing. I mean, it's so freeing, and that's super special. When I went through ERP, I learned that those skills work really well in other life situations. Don't necessarily have to do with OCD. Absolutely. I know that OCD, I know that COVID was obviously a hellacious time for everyone, OCD or not, and for individuals with health anxiety and other specific subtypes and symptoms. COVID was a horrible time. Simultaneously, I would also make the argument that individuals that have been through treatment for OCD were more equipped to deal with COVID because of your ability and willingness to sit with uncertainty. And that was definitely an uncertain time. And so it's just one example of the ability to kind of sit with the unknown and be willing to, put your faith and your trust in whatever powers that be, and know that you'll deal with something if and when it comes up. And otherwise, we're going to do the best we can with the moments we have. So yeah, I love that. Huge Gary Oldman conversation. I always like a good actor conversation. I can't get involved. Emily, back to me. New to your story, how long have you suffered from OCD and when did you find treatment? Great question. I was born with it. As far as I know, I was diagnosed at the age of 14 and I received the proper treatment at the age sorry for the noise, at the age of 31. You can view my story right here. I'll put it in the comments. This is my keynote speech that I gave in 2014 at the IOCDF. It's my story in detail. But that's essentially, I found treatment in 2010. And it was a long and arduous journey. So when I tell you that the road is not easy for a lot of people, and it takes, I am speaking from experience. I also, got into advocacy because I always believe that if I could get better, you can too. I stand by that wholeheartedly. And so, if you haven't seen my keynote, please feel free to click on the link and watch. It's my story in pretty intense detail. And so, and great question. Thank you. I appreciate you asking. Gordon, what volunteer opportunities do you all have? Sorry if that's a loaded question. I live in Boston and would love to get involved. Amazing. So you happen to live in the hometown of the IOCDF. If I'm looking away, I'm just pulling up links because this is, but you do not need to live in Boston to participate. I'm going to send you. I'll put a link here. This is a great way to get started for anyone that's interested in advocating. Here's a link to the IOCD. I am Fran. I need Fran tonight. Fran, where are you? This is a link to Gordon to the IOCDF Advocate Program. And there's tons of cool stuff in there. And that's a great place to get started. And then if you have other questions, I'll give you my email. I'll put my email at the end. And anybody who has additional questions, feel free to email me. I thought I saw another question. Oh, Loana, I see. Yes, you're in Greece. OCD is such a lonely journey. Um, so I'm trying to think about European connections, Loana. My suggestion to you would be to reach out to the IOCDF personally. You can reach out to them at info at. Sorry for all the links and emails. I just want to give as many resources as possible tonight. I would reach out to them and see what they recommend and start there, Luana. I know it, it sucks. I hate when there's individuals from countries that there's just no access to care because there isn't care or a lot of it. I will say that there are treatment providers at the US that will treat internationally. So there are ways around that as well. There's also a lot of self-help, a lot of great Instagram accounts. I'm not suggesting those Instagram accounts are a replacement for therapy, but there are great Instagram accounts that have courses and programs. And the IOCDF has a ton of great resources and support groups and things that are free that you can participate in. I'm not saying that they're a replacement for therapy, but in light of not having access to treatment or care, and in the meantime, we're working so desperately and hard to make sure that that everyone can get care, globally and internationally around the world. I guess Facebook is not posting properly. That's so weird. So nobody on Facebook is seeing the posts. They're from the IOCDF. Here, I'll just put it here. It's a lot to write down, Gordon. But you can go there. I apologize if you're on Facebook and you're not seeing. We've been having issues with Facebook lately. I need to maybe do a deep dive and see why things aren't working out so well. Apologies. And also, the OCD Stories is a great podcast. Stuart Ralph, it was one of the first OCD podcasts ever. He has since become a trained clinician in the UK. He's a great human being, and his podcast has really changed the game for so many people. Yeah. Also, Your Anxiety Toolkit, Kim Quinlan, is also a great podcast and account to follow. She also has cbtschool.com, which is an online program for anxiety. And all of these resources are all over the IOCDF website. Just kind of have to find them. Actually, before I forget, let me just put my email. And then if you have additional questions, feel free to email me. I put it in the chat for those of you on Facebook that won't see it apparently. Just to prove, see, it's on Facebook. You can email me at ethoscd@gmail.com. That is my personal email. And feel free. I may not get back to you right away. It's kind of crazy coming back to the new year, but I will absolutely respond. So just have some patience and I will get back to you. I could not agree with you more, Cash. Emily, don't feel, and this goes for anybody, when you start to find your people and resources, it's like you want to gobble up everything that you possibly can. And, my suggestion is take a breath, be patient with yourself, give yourself compassion and grace to, it's a lot to take in and it's just a lot of information. And so allow yourself to slowly, ease into the process. Live streams, conferences are great, as well as there's so many amazing social accounts and things like that. So many people that are doing great work with OCD and related disorders. So, you'll probably be presented with a ton of different, but it can get overwhelming to try to do everything and be everything for everyone and get all the information. And it can be a little compulsive. So, my suggestion is just kind of breathe and take a little bit at a time, as it sounds like you're doing, Emily. So, Sarah, I just got back from support group tonight. I worked on our personal OCD hierarchy for the new year. Still learning how to do ERP since it's been a struggle recently. Thank you you're so welcome. And, I'll end with this, which is, ERP is the gold standard treatment. Does that mean it works for everybody initially? No, it didn't work for me. Does it mean that it's easy to do? No, not necessarily. Right now, I sound like the worst possible salesman for ERP. The reality is that I'm just telling you the truth about it. It works. It's a really incredible modality of treatment, and different people respond to it in different ways. Different people find it easier to engage in. Other people find it really hard, just depending where you are on your journey, what you've experienced, how long you've been suffering. I mean, in my case, by the time I found ERP, I'd been to 10 different psychologists, and they all told me they could help me and they couldn't. And now these people were telling me they could help me and I didn't believe them. Why should I? I didn't have a reason to. My point is whether you've done ERP and it's been amazing, whether you've tried ERP and it's been really, really hard and you didn't necessarily see success, there's a multitude of reasons why that may be the case. And, I stand by the fact that sometimes it's not the right treatment provider or therapist. Sometimes we're just not right in the right space, the mental space to be able to participate in ERP. Sometimes there's trauma involved or other comorbidities that may or may not be diagnosed. This is tricky. It's tricky business. But lots of training out there, lots of education, and ERP and ACT and DBT and ICBT and lots of modalities of treatment, along with certain medications and things like that, are so effective. And even though I said the word chronic early, I don't want anyone the word chronic earlier. I don't want anybody to want to be afraid of that word. I'm not cured, but I wasn't able to function. It was completely bedridden for months, and wasn't able to function properly for my whole life up until 2011. If this is chronic, I've said this a billion times and I'll say it a billion times more, I'll take it. I will take it. In my mind, I'm cured. Even if I struggle, the fact that I am married and own a business and own a house and all of these things, maybe it came 20 years later, but you know what? I feel so grateful that I am more than happy to fight when I have to fight, and more than happy to struggle when I have to struggle. Because you know what? Who doesn't have hard times? If it's not OCD, there's something else. So, you can have a big, full life. You really can. And I don't, it's not about comparing struggles, but I was really sick. And to see myself go from that to this life, and it's not perfect, and I still struggle, and I have other diagnoses as well. But when you hear that word chronic, it can be scary. And I'm telling you, there are days, weeks, months where I forget I have OCD completely, and other times where it's loud, but I know exactly what to do. So that's it in a nutshell, right? So just quickly scan the horizon here for any last minute questions. Yeah, I love this. Let's all recover together in 26. Warm wishes to all who struggle and to all who advocate. Robert, we love you. You always have such great insight. All right. Just some quick wrap up. I want to thank the IOCDF as always for being willing to put me in a public forum and letting me talk about whatever I want. Talk about embracing uncertainty. If they only knew. As always, the IOCDF is a donor supported organization. If you want to give, or you've recently won the lottery, say in the last 7 or 8 months, feel free to donate. IOCDF.org/donate. As always, you can find resources of help at the IOCDF.org. And with all that being said, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. Oh, quick updates. So there'll be a slight change to the to the Community Conversations calendar. The exciting thing is that Community Conversations will now be on every week, every Tuesday night at 7. It will mostly look like this. I will be on once. Katie will be on once. We will be on together. And then we will have one a month where we have a bunch of advocates and guests, similar to the town halls that we used to do, and similar to what Chris and Liz and they do with Lunch and Learns and all that stuff, except from a lived experience perspective. So, and then we may, of course, have, when we can't make it or we're busy or working, whatever, we'll have amazing hosts that you know and love, Tom Smalley, Callie Warner, you name it, they'll be on. Hey, Nikki Bradley, good to see you. So yeah, that's the update. So you'll get community conversations 4 times a month. Your life is now complete. And your wish was our command. You're welcome, Cash. Anyway, so yeah, we thought that was a cool rotation too. So next week will be Katie and I both, and then Katie, and then I think the following week will be a big marathon of cool people. I love Phyllis. I love all of you, man. Y'all are awesome. All right. So with all of that being said, stay safe, stay vigilant, feel the feels. Don't let OCD off the hook. This was an awesome first stream for 2026. If anything, if this was a precursor to anything that's to come, I'm super excited for the year. So love all you guys. We'll see you next week. Have a beautiful night or day, wherever you are. Good night.